Everybody got to work. Yeah, clap it. Everybody got to work. Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? My name is Cheryl. This is Coding with Strangers, and I want to talk about something. The last time we talked about the power grid and the insufficiencies that it might portray as AI starts to grow is, do we have enough power? Do we have enough? Is the infrastructure that was built in the 1950s going to hold us over for another decade or two? Like, do we need to make upgrades? The answer is yes. Those upgrades and how we do them and how they're most cost efficient and also most impactful with the least amount of carbon footprint is paramount. Now, this debate has kind of raged on my stream. We've done streams where and had conversations where people have advocated for renewable energies, and other processes have said the system we have was built to last. I think I fall into the former camp where we need to build on our structure, innovate it, make it bigger, make it stronger, and make it less impactful to our carbon footprint. Am I out here, am I out here trying to hug a tree and some shit? No. But will I take a paper straw that's biodegradable? Absolutely, right? I'm not gonna let my masculinity be defeated by a straw because I want to save the world. If you're really feeling bold, put your lips on that goddamn cup. I want you to go to the nearest Denny's and order a Sprite so damn spicy it'll burn your lips off, and drink from the cup. But it stands to reason the people who have the power and the things to change it stand to reason that they want to figure this out, because not having a consistent source of power is going to make people's lives miserable. But thank God rich people don't even want to be uncomfortable. So that's what's going to keep us all alive. Like, seriously. And, people in the chat mentioned nuclear, and it's just Chernobyl still is very much so in the vernacular of people, in the lexicon of people in the Western world. And even though I can't describe and define exactly what happened and led to the chain of events, I know that it involved nuclear. So it just makes people very nervous. And I know that where that happened, people still can't go there. So it's very, very and I don't think anyone will be able to go there even after my death, in my lifetime. So it's very shocking to hear how we're going to solve this. So there's some news breaking on how we will probably approach this. So we want to get a better idea of that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all. Let's get into this. The U.S. grid is adding batteries at a much faster rate than natural gas. A shift towards renewables is officially in high gear. This came out August 27th. John Timmer wrote this. Okay. I remember John. John is cool. We fuck with John. While solar power is growing at an extremely rapid clip, it is absolutely, in absolute terms, the use of natural gas for electric production has continued to outpace renewables. But that looks set to change in 2024. The U.S. Energy Information Agency, the EIA, has run the numbers on the first half of the year and found that the wind, solar, and batteries were each installed at places that dwarf new natural gas generators, and the gap is expected to get dramatically larger before the year is over. Oh my. So they've already started running tests. I feel like we should have been doing this a long time ago, but maybe because the battery technology has rapidly increased. And a lot of people don't understand how good batteries have really gotten. I just want you to go back to a time where you think about your iPhone 3 and your Nokias, and you had to keep a charger on you. I'm brave enough to go outside now without a phone charger. I don't know if it's because there's a charger everywhere, or is it because the batteries? I think it's because the batteries have gotten better. They've gotten smaller and become more compact, and more versatile. So I think it's in large part when we start to see innovation and advancements that take place in our cellular devices, it speaks magnitudes for what's going on a larger scale. Solar batteries booming. According to the EIA, numbers about 20 gigawatts of new capacity was added in the first half of the year, and solar account for 60% of it. This is impressive. I have solar panels, so I know how cool it is not to get a bill, and truthfully, how great it is to know, like, to not know when there's no power in your neighborhood. Storms could be happening, things could be happening all around you. Doesn't matter because you have solar. Over the third of the solar addition occurred in just 2 states, Texas and Florida. That is so hilarious. The two states that probably are against renewable energy, but Florida people can't really deny it because they don't have gas lines because they're literally a swamp. But Texas, is big oil and big gas. There's a lot of open space in the West Texas for batteries to be charged by solar energy. There were 2 projects that went live that were rated at 600 megawatts of capacity, one in Texas and the other in Nevada. Next up, batteries in the U.S. saw 4.2 addition gigawatts of battery capacity during their period, meaning over 20% of the total new capacity. Batteries are treated as the equivalent of generating sources by the EIA, since they can dispatch electricity to the grid on demand, even if they can't do so continuously. Texas and California alone accounted for over 60% of these additions. Throw in Arizona and Nevada, and you're at 93% of the installed capacity. So within 4 states, we were able to generate enough. So basically what they're saying in a nutshell is, with the additions of solar panel, wind, and a bunch of things, they had a goal set out to see how much energy they could build up just with this certain capacity and how long it would take. And their assertion was basically was going to be a while before they do it. But just with 60% of it, they've knocked it out of the park. And that's just taking on Nevada and Texas. When you throw in Arizona, California, and Nevada, in Arizona, sorry, I already mentioned that, things get kicked up in a real way. And I think it's more attributed not to the technicality of having massive fields of these solar panels. I think the technology and how we capture energy and reconvert it. Like they said in the last sentence here, they were able to call it on demand when the grid failed. So it's not a question of keeping it constantly going there. This is the same exact science that happens here. When the power grid is up, cool, no problem. But when there's an overcast where the sun isn't directly on my solar panels, my battery kicks in for me before going to the grid. So this is phenomenal. The technology that is being used on the internal houses is now being used in a really strong and powerful way. This is great. The clear pattern here is that batteries are going where the solar is, allowing the power generated during the peak of the day to be used to meet demands after sun sets. This is exactly what I just described. This will help existing solar plants avoid curtailing power production during the lower demand periods in the spring and fall. This will improve the economic case for installing additional solars in states where its production can already regularly exceed demand. This would be great in the Midwest. You already see a lot of wind farms in Iowa and Nebraska. Unfortunately, I've had to make that trip on more than one occasion. Wind power, by contrast, is running at a more sedated pace. Makes sense. With only 2.5 gigawatts of new capacity during the 6 months of 2024, and for likely the last time this decade, additional nuclear power was placed on the grid at the 4th 1.1 gigawatts reactor and the second recent build at that voltage site in Georgia. So they have some nuclear going on in Georgia. The only other addition came from natural gas powered facilities, but it totaled out at 400 megawatts, or just 2% of the total capacity. So the growth capacity is there. They did say it was in Texas and Florida, but I'm assuming they're just talking about what they added. But where you got the most power from was just located in Texas. And when you think about the hemisphere in first half of the year, they have had they haven't gone through they've gone through hurricane season already, and they also went through the start of fall. So they probably just had more installations, but solar is very common in Florida. It's as red as a state in how much they're against renewable energy. If you go to Florida, you'll see, even in the most podunk trailer park ass neighborhoods, you'll see solar panels, because that's literally, the grid is not reliable, especially during hurricane season. The EIA has also projected capacity addition out of the end of 2024 based on what's in the work and overall shape of things. It doesn't change much. However, the pace of installation goes up and developers rush to get their projects operational within the current tax year. The EIA expects a bit of 60 gigawatts of new capacity to be installed by the end of the year, with 37 gigawatts of that coming in the form of solar power batteries. Damn, that's exponential. Wind will account for 7.1 gigawatts of new capacity. Natural gas would account for 2.6, and throw in a contribution of nuclear contribution of nuclear, and 96 of the capacity in the original will come out in operation without a carbon emission. Even if you choose to ignore the battery additions, the factor of carbon emitting capacity as added remaining extremely small at only 6%. So this right here, you gotta clap that. With the 96% growth of solar and normal energy, we've only managed to have a 6%. I'm assuming they mean differential, so comparing it to what would happen if you made a 96% growth of like natural gas and natural oil and gas. So a 6% growth by comparison, because we're assuming that is at 100%. So that's almost 94% better than what you would get with going with the gas route. Gradual. And now the question though, this is the question though. Can it be reliably sourced by the grid? If we have rolling blackouts happening because of natural disasters, can we tap into this power and maintain this power? This is the question, and this is why grid infrastructure is so important. Is our grid have the update abilities to hang 10 with this shit? Gradual shifts on the grid. Obviously, these numbers represent a peak production of our sources, very much so. Over a year, solar produces about 25% of its rated capacity in the U.S., and the wind accounts for 35%. The former number will likely decrease over time as solar becomes inexpensive enough to make economic sense in a place that don't receive as much sunshine. By contrast, wind capacity factors may increase more offshore wind farms and get completed. Okay, this makes sense, because you're going to want to put wind farms on the coast, and you're going to want to put sun farms in the middle. In Nevada and Texas, where the state of Texas crosses into two different time zones, you're going to have the opportunity there to capture a lot more sun time. Nevada being smack dab, Iowa and places like this where the sun is at its peak has the opportunity to cover way more, but the wind coming off the shore makes just absolute sense. But total retirements are expected to be 7.5 gigawatts this year, less than what retired in the first half. So this is how much they've retired in exchange. So gas and oil has replaced 7.5 gigawatts of energy thus far. That is likely because the U.S. saw electricity use rise by 5% in the first half of 2024, based on the number of EIA released on Friday. It is unclear how much of it was due to weather. Y'all better figure that shit out, because that's why we're doing this. We're doing this because we don't have a reliable way of maintaining our energy. A lot of the country saw heat that likely boosted demand on the air conditioning. Yeah, my air conditioning currently has been going crazy. And how much could we be accounted for the rising use in data centers and electrical transit appliances? So they're talking about AI here, right? A little bit of that Bitcoin nonsense. The data released includes details on where the U.S. got its electricity during the first half of 2024. The changes aren't dramatic compared to where they were when we looked at it last month. Still, what has changed over the past month is good news for renewables. In May, wind and solar production were up 8.4%, and compared to the same period the year before, by June, they were up 12%. Given EIA's expectation for the rest of the year, the key question is likely to be whether the pace of new solar installation is going to be enough to offset the drop in production that will occur as the U.S. shifts to the winter months. And for all y'all that don't know, the winter months are kind of unbearable because you could have a whole entire day where there's sunlight, but not enough to generate energy for solar panels to accept. So I really like this article. It speaks to the thing that we wanted to know. We wanted to know what would happen if we implemented some form of, como se dice, just because people don't believe in renewable energies doesn't mean we shouldn't be investing in them. And it's kind of the irony is that the red states are the ones that are being forced to lead this drive and push. Texas, for all you guys don't know, isn't connected to the U.S. main grid. They have their own separate grid. And in the winter, 2 years ago, 238 people died because they lost power to the grid. And this project was put on by the federal government to usurp that process, because if the people of Texas need energy and the state of Texas can't provide it, the obligation falls on the federal government. So they have a reason to do this. And what a great thing for the government to do in light of the situation they're in, because you could have simply said, oh, we're just going to upgrade the grid that you have. But they said, no, if you want this money from the federal government, we're going to make this renewable project. And California's already bought in. Florida doesn't have a choice because, the grids aren't maintainable, and because of all the damage that comes from weather related things. So that's why I thought it was kind of strange that they couldn't account for the weather here. But another thing that was kind of interesting about this article is they don't spend enough time talking about how much of the carbon footprint they're saving us by comparisons of natural gas. Like, it's no secret at this point. Everyone's seeing we're all seeing and feeling the impacts of climate change. And while this could easily devolve into that, furthermore, I think a lot more people are having to come to terms with finding renewable energy because they have a scapegoat, and that scapegoat is AI. A lot more people who probably wouldn't have said renewable energies is the way to go, solar panels can't do it for us, are way more open to it, because those data centers that they are betting on to make money for them with large language models need to be fueled a different way. And the last thing you want to see is a hospital lose power just because someone decided to query what type of cheese to put on their pizza to impress their girlfriend. You feel me? I'm sorry, Miss May, you can't have surgery today because, somebody's querying with a large language model. So putting all biases aside to just make the system work better is the best form of bureaucracy I really enjoy. This is the type of bureaucracy I enjoy, where it's just it forces people to show their hand and show that you like money more than you like your moral platitudes, that you argue against renewable energies because it's going to hurt American jobs and it's going to hurt this. How's it going to hurt? The gas person needs to learn how to work electricity now. Either take a shit or get off the pot. That's the way we rock. But once again, great article about the the advancements that renewable energies have made and how batteries are impacting us and how we have literally upscaled renewable energy in the house. So I like this. I want to know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. Yeah. Some people say I press too many buttons. Some people say that. But if not to hear me press these goddamn buttons, I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you on the other side.